Nice to meet you. I am Kay and I have autism. Autism, autistic spectrum disorder, ASD, basically means that my brain is wired a little differently. And that is okay. Disclaimer, I am not an expert and I'm speaking from my own experiences. A quick Google search tells me that approximately 1 in 54 children is diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder, according to 2016 data. A lot of people think that autism mainly affects children, which is not true. People just get better at dealing with the issues that they face as they grow older. This is something that I will have with me for the rest of my life, and it'll just get easier to deal with things. So I am high functioning, and a quick Google search tells me that high functioning autism is autism without an intellectual disability. I got diagnosed officially at 17. The process started when I was 14. I went to the doctors because I thought I had depression, and we sat and talked with the doctor, and the doctor was like, okay, yes, you've been depressed, but have you ever considered that you might have autism? We didn't have a lot of knowledge, so we read up on articles and stuff, and we were like, okay, this is basically me, we're pretty sure I have this. But due to funding, I couldn't get tested until I was about 17. So I have here the initial form that the doctors sent to my school when I initially went for my first doctor's appointment. I have the notes that they took of me. So this is what I was like at 14. Parent has noted Kay's difficulty in relating to friends. My situation with making friends is quite unique in the fact that I have a twin, and we would have the same friends. Without my twin, I do not think that I would have had nearly as good of a high school experience, if you can say that. I do not think I would have made any friends. I think I would have been very lonely and a lot more sad. Kay finds it difficult to express emotions. Kay has limited eye contact. A big thing with autism is limited eye contact. I used to very much struggle with this. To a lot of people it comes naturally, but to me it does not. So I put a lot of effort in a daily conversation with people that I'm new to. No specific obsessions. So a big stereotype with autistic people is that they have very specific obsessions and they will talk about them a lot without the people around them actually being interested in that. Finds change difficult, finds going on holiday difficult. Yes, any sort of change does still irk me a little bit. So this isolation situation has been very difficult on me. Kay is easily brought to tears when she doesn't expect something. This has been one of the most difficult things I have had to deal with. I will cry at anything. Any slight change, any slight thing that I'm not expecting, I will cry. In any sort of public situation, doesn't matter, I will just cry. In English, in maths, in high school, I would just start crying, and I was very, very good at hiding it. I think one of the teachers noticed once, and this would start in like year 8, year 9, when I would literally just start crying and I would just hide it and no one would notice anything. I'd just start crying in lesson. This would still happen in college. I'm a performing arts student, so particularly dance lessons, it's crowded, it's quite loud, everyone's trying to learn things. Another thing with autism is that like coordination isn't particularly the best. So dance lessons would really overwhelm me and I'd just start crying and I'd just walk out. I've exposed myself to it a lot. This has been getting better. So that was my initial doctor's appointment when I was 14. It was very scary but also very comforting to be given this label, because I knew that I was a bit weird but I didn't know why. And being given this just made me feel like there's other people like me, this will be fine. Sorry, this is very hard to talk about because I know I'm going to be a bit odd for the rest of my life, and it's weird because I don't see myself like that, but I know other people see me like that. It's just hard to know that I'm going to have to deal with that for the rest of my life. So the biggest way I would say that my autism affects me is sensory overload. I am very sensitive to sound, light, food, clothes, pain. I'm very clumsy, and if I will hit myself even like the tiniest bit, it causes a lot of pain. Sound and light are probably the biggest factors in daily scenarios, in like a classroom, in lesson. For example, I'm sat there, it's crowded, the lights are bright, I can hear people tapping, I can hear people talking, I can hear people in the corridor, I can hear people maybe tapping on their phone with acrylic nails, just all them things. I can hear all of them and I'm processing them all at the same time, and it gets a lot. That can get a lot sometimes, especially in like new and unknown situations. So like, for example, I'm very anxious filming this right now because I don't really like to talk about things like this, but I think it's important to educate people. But right now I can feel I can hear the washing machine downstairs, I can hear music coming from my brother's room, my bedroom light's really annoying me, the light from here is really annoying me, but I still have to focus on what I'm doing. Now most people can normally shut these out and it's fine, you know, they can focus on what they're doing, but with me and with autistic people, that's not necessarily the case, and they have to consciously focus on shutting things out and focusing on what they're doing, which makes daily tasks quite hard. Socially, this also affects me, so I've always found it hard making new friends. As I said, I've had a twin. Just talking to people in general, like in school, I'd have to hand in a slip, I'd make my brother do it. I'd never go in a shop when I was younger, I used to make my brother do it, I used to make him do everything for me, which is one of the reasons why people didn't notice that I had autism. Masking is things that autistic people will do to hide the fact that they're autistic. Autistic masking. This may involve behaviour like suppressing self-calming repetitive movements, faking a smile in an environment they find uncomfortable or distressing, or choosing not to talk about their interests. So basically appearing normal. I have done this before, so like ways that I might calm myself is I do this with my hair. I scratch up my scalp. I do often fake smiles in environments that I find uncomfortable. It says here the symptoms of autism tend to be the same for boys and girls, but people are more likely to overlook them in girls. Sensitive emotions. So like I said, with the sensory overload, with physical things around me, it can also happen with my emotions. So if I'm feeling happy, I might feel really happy. If I feel a little bit sad, that can just go right into a complete depressive episode. If I feel anxious, that can just completely worsen. I do have to take a bit of extra time to look after myself and my emotions sometimes. So anxiety and depression can be big alongside autism, because especially with high functioning autism, because people tend to overthink what's in their mind and stay in their head a lot, which can lead to anxiety and depression. Another thing with the sensory overload is food can also be a big thing. So like foods not touching each other. I used to hate the texture of meat before I became vegetarian. And this is how also a lot of teenage girls can actually be misdiagnosed with an eating disorder instead of autism, because the textures of food, they might come into certain habits with their food which might lead to a misdiagnosis of an eating disorder, because a lot of people, even doctors, can assume that autism is mainly in boys, but that's not true. It just goes misdiagnosed or unnoticed. And all of this autism is very internal, so people wouldn't know. Like, I'm sure the average person crossing me in the street wouldn't assume like, oh, you don't look like you have autism, but that's just because it's very internal, and these are all things that I have to deal with inside my own head with my own emotions. It doesn't come off unless you're actively looking for it. And I can also have meltdowns. So say I'm in a new situation and it's bright and there are people talking to me, and yeah, all those wires can just get crossed in my head and I will just start crying and I will just have a meltdown. I really, really don't like to talk about this. So what I would say in a situation where you see someone with a meltdown, having a meltdown, just have a bit of empathy. You can't possibly understand how it feels. It's very overwhelming, it's not nice. Obviously they wouldn't do it if they had the choice. But they're just things I have to deal with. It's kind of horrible knowing that I'm a bit different and I can't change it. Like, this is the type of stuff that I try and mask all the time. I do have some questions that some people asked me. So my friend Becky asked, are there things that people can do to help make it easier? Just be kind and considerate, you know. Like, if I'm having a meltdown, don't necessarily say, oh, why are you crying, nothing's wrong, because you're not in my brain. Just be kind and understand that this is something that happens sometimes. Thomas asked, how has it affected your studies as an actor? Has it affected your ability to make friends with your fellow classmates? Yes. It was quite hard at the beginning because it's silly, but I used to Google like autistic actors, actors with autism, and nothing would come up. So I would think, oh my god, there's no actors out there that have autism. How am I ever gonna be a professional performer? How am I gonna like work in the industry with this extra thing that I have to carry around with me all the time? But you know, I'm just carrying on. It's what I enjoy doing. So yeah, if you didn't know, I've been spending the last 3 years at college doing performing arts, and I'm going to drama school in September. Has it affected your ability to make friends with your fellow classmates? I have issues making friends in general. Compared to how I was, say, 3-4 years ago, I'm definitely better. At the end of the day, just be kind. People are different. I hope I have educated you, even a little bit. Stay safe and be kind.